Hey guys, Karibo Bros here, and today we've got a speed up deck profile for XYZ Dragon Can. Now, this is a deck that I thought we'd already done. Yeah, it's been in a few videos that we've played games for, we just hadn't uploaded the deck profile, so here it is. Anyway, I really like this archetype. I play ABC and mainline Yu-Gi-Oh, and I've been playing that deck since like 2016. But anyway, this deck's just fun, and I see a lot of people playing it, so I thought I'd finally get around to showing off the deck profile. So we'll start off with the skill. Union combination. So this and Union Hangar are what make the deck playable. If we had just got like the monsters and the fusion monsters, then this deck would be absolutely awful. But this skill does make up for that, along with Union Hangar. So anyway, activate the skill card during main phase. Once per turn, you can fusion summon one light machine fusion monster from your X deck using monsters from your graveyard or field, not both. So one or the other. As fusion material for the rest of this turn, your opponent takes no damage. So yeah, just remember that. No damage for the rest of the turn, because I'm fairly convinced we have recorded a few games and forgot about that last bit. So yeah, it helps us get our fusion monsters out and lets us fuse from the graveyard, which is very nice. So that's a Union combination as our skill. Moving on to the main deck, we are playing a 20 card list, 2 copies of XYZ. It's the 1800 beta vanilla for the deck. I would like to play 3 copies, but we can't search it off Union Hangar, so that's why we only play 2. Also, Union Hangar does not let us equip that card from deck, so yeah, 2 copies. 2 copies of Y Dragonhead. It's got the same effect as all Union monsters. It can equip itself or unequip itself from a Union monster to special summon itself or put itself in the spell and trap card zone. That effect doesn't really come up. We're literally just going to equip this off Union Hangar, then like fuse it off with Z metal tank. Anyway, it's got 1600 defense, which isn't the worst in speed duel. It's a bit like in GOAT format, where like if anything had 1400 defense, like that was considered like okay. So 1600 defense, it can survive being attacked face down by a fair few monsters, but it's not the greatest. It's not a big booty. Playing 3 copies of Z metal tank. I think this is the best monster in the deck, simply because XZ is the best fusion monster, which allows us to pop that face down spell and trap cards. So just being able to bring XZ out eventually. I mean, more often than not, we're going to bring out YZ, and YZ, though it's not great, is it's we need to play it because it's the only Y Dragonhead is the only other Union monster we can equip to this from deck. So 3, 2, and 2. Move them to one side. Continuing, I play 2 copies of Night Assailant. Now, I did see a list that was playing like 3 copies of this, and I understand the premise behind playing 3 because you want to get it in your hand and it's free discard fodder if you have another one in graveyard, so you can continuously loop the effect, get this back, and continuously activate the effects of your fusion monsters. But having 2 in your hand, open hand, is awful, so you will have to set one. I mean, even playing 1, you might still have to, even playing 2 copies of this, you might still have to set one and just use it as like a man-eater bug before you then draw into the second one and get its free recursion effect. So I play 2 rather than 3 just because it's more copies of a brick. Next card is Sphere Karibo. I think obviously this gets played in anything that plays rituals or like Relinquished especially, but I feel like this is a very underrated card, this format. Obviously Book of Moon has become like the staple go-to battle trap, I believe, but because of that, I think no one's expecting Sphere Karibo in decks where it doesn't necessarily belong. So it's a bit like when Serpent Knight Dragon first came out. People played 3 copies of Sphere Karibo on that just to help stall and obviously see Serpent Knight Dragon. So it's a similar concept here, but another thing is like if we set Night Assailant, our opponent attacks, we can drop a Sphere Karibo, flip Night Assailant on our turn, pop the opponent's monster, and we've still got another body on board to pay damage. So 2 copies of Sphere Karibo, and the last monster in the deck is 1 copy of Jinzo. I like playing Jinzo simply because like we can summon like Z metal tank, equip Y. Obviously Y will protect Z from being destroyed. And if they're both still there on our next turn, we contribute them. We contribute the monster we have on the field with the Union monster equipped to it, summon Jinzo out, and then fuse from our graveyard with our skill card to bring out a fusion. So we have like 2 big beaters on the field on our second turn, which is very cool. And obviously Jinzo has the effect where our opponent trap cards can't be activated, which is a bit counterintuitive at times because we do play Union Scramble, but they can coexist in the same deck. It does work. Also, when we do summon this, it's great book bait. Our opponent's going to more than likely activate Book of Moon in response to us summoning this card. So that's all the monsters. Moving on to the spell cards, we play 3 cards of arguably the best card in the deck. Union Hangar. There's a reason this card like is still good in like mainline Yu-Gi-Oh. It's because it's a free add, so it's deck thinning, and then we get to equip from deck. So again, it's all more deck thinning, but it's not as great because we don't have like A, B, and C in this game. We only have X, Y, and Z. So it's a one card fusion monster essentially, because we can go add Y, normal summon Y, equip Z, use our skill, fuse them both off, make YZ in our first turn. So 3 copies of Hangar is mandatory. 2 copies of Book of Moon ourselves, because every person on the planet is playing it. We need to play it ourselves. It's fighting fire with fire. We're playing the best card of the format. Onto the trap cards. 2 copies of Union Scramble. Target up to 3 of your banished target up to 3 of your banished light normal monsters and or light machine union monsters. Special summon them during either player's turn except this turn this card was sent to the graveyard. You can banish this card and add 1 light normal monster or light machine union monster from your graveyard to your hand. So it gives us recursion as well as being able to bring back more monsters on the board and push for game. 1 copy of Waken the Dragon, because Breaker the Magical Warrior is prevalent, Cosmic Cyclone's prevalent. More than likely we will start this card out if we are going up against a inner conflict deck, but if we're playing a deck that isn't against our opponent that isn't in a conflict and they just banish this, they get punished, or they just destroy this card, they get punished, and we just bring out a big 4/5 beta. So that's the 20 card list. Obviously, I think there's a few selections in there people may have their own tinkers with. So for example, I don't think everyone will want to play Waken the Dragon. It also very much depends on like your locals and what decks are played at your local events. Moving on to the extra deck, 1 copy of XYZ Dragon Cannon. It's very rare we summon this card, but it's great when we do because it has the ability to just pop any card in the field. 2 copies of what I think is the best one in the deck, or best of the small fusions at least, XYZ Tank Cannon. So obviously we can discard 1 card, target 1 face down spell, trap card our opponent controls and destroy that. Again, I mean, we can out stuff, but our opponent's more than likely going to chain it. So I mean, even though it does get rid of stuff, it just forces our opponent to activate the stuff they have. 1 copy of YZ Tank Dragon, and lastly 1 copy of XY Dragon Cannon. So YZ lets us pop face down spells and face down monsters our opponent controls, and this lets us pop face up spells and traps our opponent's controls. This comes up occasionally in like burn matches where opponents got like Nightmare Wheel or Crypto Monster, so we can just out that and not give into their burn tactics. And then obviously, because we played the 1 copy of Waken the Dragon, I have 1 copy of Blue Eyes Ultimate in the extra deck. As I say, if you don't like that selection, take it out. But I feel like at my locals specifically, like it's a good shout, at least in this deck. Moving on to the side deck. Nice and easy. 2 copies of Nobleman of Crosso, because the Magician package is still quite prevalent. I've seen a lot more decks nowadays playing 2 copies of Apprentice Magician, then cycling that into something like Magician of Moth or Crystal Seer, so that just outs that. 2 copies of Offering to the Doom, because obviously every deck likes to draw, but we're in a situation where, because we can fuse from our graveyard and we can bring back our banished monsters with our trap card, Union Scramble, we don't necessarily need to draw as much as other decks. So if this can out a big boss monster our opponent has, say such as like Relinquished or Jinzo, or maybe even King of the Skull Servants, then we don't mind missing that 1 draw as long as we have the advantage, and in the sense we can still do stuff without drawing it in our turn. Lastly, 2 copies of Nightbeam. I do like Nightbeam at the moment, especially in this deck, as opposed to Cosmic Cyclone, because our opponent's more than likely going to, as I've said, set Book of Moon, which is the best card in the format, arguably. So we activate this, they can't respond. If we target that Book of Moon set, they can't respond to Nightbeam with that Book of Moon unless they have a second card to respond with, and then they can make a chain. But that's why I like Nightbeam, is just because if we're getting rid of Book of Moon, they can't respond to it. So that's the list, guys. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.